lot of work that actually goes into these applications, so I would not have been able to do it all without John. So it'll be about 10 minutes for my intro, and then we are going to go on a walk to actually talk more about these buildings you see behind you. And the other part of the story of the iron industry here in Rossie is actually across the street where the blast furnace was. So we will be talking about that after we talk about the foundry, which is the ruins of the big building you see here, and the grist mill, which is what you see across the street. And we'll also fill in some pieces of buildings that used to be here that are no longer here. We will not be going down to see not many buildings left, but there is what may have been a shot tower left of the lead production area. That's really the only ruin you can see well anymore, which is about a mile down the road. So we're not going to be going down there today, but if anybody wants to stick around and go see that, I've got some pictures and I can tell you, what to look for after this tour. So why Rossie? Why are we all here today? What is the significance of this spot? Well, in my opinion, this marker is at least 150 years overdue. I have been researching the history of Rossie for the past several years, almost as long as I've lived in this part of New York. The story and, of course, the ruins that you see here totally captivated me. I'm a longtime rock hound and a mineral hunter, so this area is not only important for the industrial production, but especially at the other side where lead was mined, they also found some pretty high quality, gem quality minerals. So this particular area is very rich in mineral history just due to the geology here. So for me, this site really has it all. It's amazing that we still have the ruins that we have, given that production here stopped in the 1860s. But this is not just St. Lawrence County history. What happened here affected the population, economy, and future development of all of New York's North Country, essentially putting it on the map for the rest of the world. It also influenced the development of iron smelting and lead processing technologies across the whole country. And we will be going into a lot more detail about why this is so important and the different production that happened here during the tour that follows. But just to give you a very brief overview, it's David Parrish, who's a name you may have heard, significant to a lot of different parts of St. Lawrence County. David Parrish, his brother George, and another cousin George were actually the main ones that were working here and actually started all of the production in Rossie. So David Parrish came over from Germany in the early 1800s. He started the county and one of the country's first significant iron mining operation about 12 miles from here in the little area, still part of the town of Rossie, but a little area called Somerville, between Somerville and Spragueville. It was called the Caledonia Mine, and that opened in 1809. That was where the iron ore was coming from that ended up being shipped to this part of Rossie here in the town and was smelted in the furnace that you're going to see the ruins of today. So by 1814, the region's first iron blast furnace right across the road was in production here in the village, smelting iron from that Caledonia mine. In the 1830s, lead ore was discovered, like I said, just over a mile down the road by a 9-year-old girl named Eliza Jepson. And we have one of her descendants here today with us, which is pretty cool. Iron and lead made Rossie the Pittsburgh of the North. That is what it was called for several decades until production here ceased in the 1860s. Today we are commemorating these significant historical events through this marker. We have the William G. Pomeroy Foundation to thank for this marker. And for those who may be hearing about Pomeroy for the first time, the William G. Pomeroy Foundation is a private philanthropic organization that they're located in Syracuse, and they are currently the nation's leading funder of historical markers since 2006. They have granted nearly 2,700 markers and bronze plaques in 49 states and in Washington, D.C. They do have a website if anyone's interested. I can tell you more about it later. You do need to be a municipality, a historical society, or a historian to apply for these markers. But there's a limit of like 5 a year, so you know, we're lucky if we have the capacity to get one application in, but you can apply for multiple in 1 year. So this also would not have been possible without the help of the town of Rossie, so I especially want to thank the highway crew for installing this for us, so if we can give them a round of applause. So thank you so much to the town for supporting this work, for supporting this marker, helping us with some of the information, and of course the hardest thing sometimes is actually getting it in. So Pomeroy pays for, it's a grant, it's about a $1,600 value essentially. They work with a foundry in Ohio to get the markers made, and the grant also pays for the shipping, so it was sent to us in Canton, and then it's our responsibility to have it installed. So the marker gets mounted on the